By April 1945, as the war against Germany neared its conclusion, the Third Reich clung to delusions of ultimate triumph. Hitler's imagined victory included a flight to New York, escorted by supersonic jets and celebrated with elaborate German victory parades reminiscent of those in occupied France. Grandiose state ceremonies were envisioned to mark the historic occasion, culminating in the ominous image of a Nazi salute from the Statue of Liberty. New York, reduced to ruins, retained just enough of its skylines to stage a chilling victory parade down Wall Street. This dystopian scenario represented the darkest vision of how World War II might have ended, fueled by Hitler's elite team of scientific geniuses, all striving to secure a 1,000-year reign of terror. Among this team were masterminds such as rocket pioneer Werner von Braun, physicist and mathematician Irene Breath, aerospace engineer Eugen Zenja, and Nobel Prize-winning nuclear physicist Werner Heisenberg. Operating from a now defunct high-tech facility, they received substantial funding from the Nazi treasury. With access to the most advanced laboratories in Europe, they were tasked with developing devastating weapons of mass destruction. Their groundbreaking projects included the delta-winged Lippisch P-13, a vertical takeoff rotor-wing warplane decades ahead of its time, a flying aircraft carrier, and the Silverbird, a supersonic suborbital spacecraft capable of bringing the Blitz to Times Square. On a secluded Baltic Sea island, the Nazis built a top-secret complex of laboratories and airfields where these innovations were born. This site, Peenemünde, became the cradle of Nazi wonder weapons and the birthplace of both the jet and space ages. Its isolation, combined with proximity to the Baltic Ocean, provided an ideal location for testing rockets and minimizing espionage risks. Peenemünde was more than a research hub. It was a controlled enclave. The town featured cutting-edge apartment blocks for top scientists, but also served as a concentration camp. Though the scientists themselves were not enslaved, their well-being and that of their families depended on their cooperation with the regime. Even today, questions linger about the extent of Nazi scientific advancements, the mechanics behind these weapons, and how close Hitler's technological ambitions brought him to global domination.
Today, at Cuxhaven, the V2 is still being fired by Germans, but this time directed by British science.
In 1943, Germany's National Socialist Party introduced the V1 Vengeance weapon, hinting at the development of an even more advanced V2. At the secret Peenemünde complex, engineers led by the brilliant young physicist Dr. Werner von Braun laid the foundation for the space age, culminating in the creation of the A4 rocket, later known as the V2. The V2 was not just a weapon of vengeance. For von Braun, it represented a leap in science and engineering. While its immediate use was an artillery piece capable of striking England without warning, von Braun's true focus was on advancing aerodynamics, thrust, cooling, and other technologies essential for space exploration. His ambitions were far beyond warfare. He envisioned using these innovations to push humanity toward the stars.
Launching, with a great weapon leaping 65 miles skywards, then reaching 3,000 miles an hour.
At a time when rocketry in the United States was little more than a hobby, von Braun was granted a state-of-the-art laboratory and a team of experts. This support allowed him to create the world's first long-range ballistic missile, the unstoppable V2 retaliation rocket, which flew at 3,300 miles per hour and was nearly impossible to intercept. Unlike the audible buzz bomb, the V2 fell silently and struck without warning. It could not be intercepted by fighter aircraft or brought down by anti-aircraft artillery.
They not only took a toll of more than 9,000 casualties, they also had a devastating psychological effect. For unlike the buzz bomb, the V-2 fell without warning. It had a speed of 3,300 miles per hour, and it could not be intercepted by fighter aircraft or brought down by anti-aircraft.
However, von Braun's primary interest remained scientific progress rather than military victory. His passion lay in solving the intricate challenges of ballistic missile design as a precursor to space exploration. Yet, under the Nazi regime, scientific ambition was tightly controlled. German scientists were forced to adhere to the Führer's directives, unable to advocate for defensive technologies that might imply the war was faltering. By 1944, it was evident that Germany was losing the war. US warplanes targeted a Nazi convoy carrying what could have been a game-changing weapon had it ever been deployed, the Typhoon. This was the world's first defensive ground-to-air missile designed to bolster Nazi efforts to shoot down Allied bombers. Germany had the potential to shift its focus earlier, in 1943, toward developing an integrated air defense system. If resources had been concentrated on anti-aircraft missiles like the Typhoon, rather than on offensive weapons like the V-2 rocket, it might have significantly altered the course of the war. Instead, the Typhoon underwent its initial field tests at Station 4 in Peenemünde in 1944. Revolutionary yet simple in design, the Typhoon was a 6-foot steel tube fueled by a mix of nitric acid and synthetic fuel. It could travel over 6 miles in just 14 seconds, with plans to produce over 1 million units by 1945. However, these plans never came to fruition. The Nazis were unable to effectively develop certain projects, as they were either convinced they had already won the war or focused solely on prolonging it to maintain power. Their failure to concentrate resources and foster collaboration, combined with excessive suspicion and internal party politics, prevented them from achieving critical advancements. Modern simulations depict how its mobile shooting base would have operated, but only a single Typhoon has been reconstructed, far from the millions once envisioned. In the end, while Nazi ingenuity revolutionized weaponry, their inability to scale production and manage resources ensured their ultimate failure. Nazi secret files reveal war machines so advanced that they seem almost unbelievable for their time. Before the war ended, Germany developed a series of aeronautical innovations that became foundational to modern air and spacecraft technology. Among these breakthroughs was the Arado 234, the world's first operational turbojet bomber and one of the most advanced jets of its era. The Arado, powered by the Junkers Jumo 004 engine, was a lightweight and streamlined aircraft that required the pilot to handle multiple roles as bombardier, navigator and gunner. Even earlier, there were the many marvels of uniform. Dr. Alexander Lippisch, who designed a series of delta-wing gliders in the 1930s that eventually led to the introduction of the rocket-powered interceptor Messerschmitt Me 163 Comet, and the better-known Messerschmitt Me 262, the world's first operational jet fighter, able to outrun any Allied aircraft by as much as 100 miles an hour. It is considered the most advanced German craft to actually make it into combat. A lot of the things that they were trying to do were things they were driven to do. As their territory shrank following the invasion of France, Germany explored vertical takeoff aircraft. This led to rocket fighter concepts designed to ascend vertically and intercept American squadrons without the delays of conventional climbs. One such project was the Focke-Wulf rotary jet, which featured liquid-fueled rockets at the tips of its triple propellers. This machine was designed to lift off vertically and then transition to flight, embodying the bold, futuristic thinking behind Nazi war machines. The most incredible vertical lift weapon of all is rumored to have been hidden in Peenemünde, a Nazi UFO. An article in Der Spiegel revealed Rudolf Schroever's plans for the piloted Schroever Flügelkreisel, a nearly 50-foot diameter craft with 3 impulse jets inside a circular fuselage. Though never built, clues to a flying saucer also emerged in Upper Austria, where a disc-shaped invention used matter transformation and energy flow to create a fuelless engine. Victor Schauberger, inspired by fish swimming upstream, devised the repulsin, a silent, vacuum-powered engine generating thrust without combustion. Despite his reluctance, Schauberger was forced to work in Nazi weapons labs, contributing to Hitler's pursuit of wonder weapons. His invention, however, was intended as a propulsion system, not a weapon. In 1943, German scientists continued their work at a secret city on the Baltic as the tide of war turned against the Third Reich. On the Eastern Front, the German army suffered devastating defeats, being turned back at Stalingrad, and Hitler's invasion of Russia collapsed into chaos and retreat. Meanwhile, in the West, British pilots captured the first aerial images of the Peenemünde factories and rocket launch sites. These facilities became prime targets for British bombers, which devastated the complex, killing hundreds of scientists and engineers. Peenemünde never fully recovered from this assault, losing critical personnel, equipment, and momentum. Production was relocated underground to fortified mountain facilities and remote mines, shielding operations from further Allied bombing. By 1944, in Stuttgart, Germany, the Nazis turned their focus to developing the ultimate weapon, an atomic bomb. A team of German scientists, led by Nobel Prize winner Werner Heisenberg, known as the Uranium Club, sought to unlock the secrets of nuclear fission. They aimed to harness this power, not just for energy, but to create a world-changing weapon. Across the Atlantic, physicists at Los Alamos, New Mexico, pursued the same goal, using radioactive uranium from the American West to construct the first nuclear bomb. However, uncertainty surrounded Germany's progress in this race. In early 1945, the US launched Operation Alsos, a secret mission to uncover the state of Germany's nuclear program. Outside Stuttgart, beneath a medical castle in Haigerloch, Alsos agents discovered an atomic reactor hidden in a stone cellar, along with uranium cubes concealed in nearby fields. This evidence was transported to the US for analysis. Further investigations revealed that earlier shipments of heavy water, a crucial component for nuclear power, had been sent from Nazi-occupied Norway, despite heroic efforts by the Norwegian resistance to intercept them. These shipments contained deuterium, an isotope of hydrogen that made water 10% heavier, essential for nuclear experiments. The Nazis had intended to combine this heavy water with uranium cubes to usher in the nuclear age. Their ambitions extended far beyond weapons. They envisioned a 1,000-year Reich, with Berlin renamed Germania as its high-tech epicenter. Massive rail systems would connect power centers from Siberia to Moscow, Paris, and Berlin, forming the backbone of a global empire. However, the dream of a Nazi-controlled nuclear future remained unfulfilled, leaving their scientific pursuits as eerie echoes of an unrealized dystopia. By March 1945, the Third Reich was on the brink of collapse. With Allied forces closing in, Hitler clung to the desperate hope that a wonder weapon could reverse the tide of war. However, it was the United States that proved the power of true innovation, detonating the first atomic bomb at the Trinity site in New Mexico. At the war's end, the Allies were eager to assess Germany's progress on an atomic bomb. Top-tier German atomic scientists were detained at Farm Hall near Cambridge, where their conversations were secretly monitored. The findings revealed a startling truth. Germany not only lacked an atomic bomb, but had little understanding of its mechanics. Despite their failure to produce an atomic weapon, the Nazis did pioneer other advanced technologies. These included the world's first cruise missile, long-range ballistic missile, guided surface-to-air missile, anti-ship missiles, closed-circuit TV, and operational jet fighter and bomber. These designs, years ahead of their time, emerged from secret facilities dedicated to science and backed by vast propaganda resources. Germany's extreme secrecy hindered its scientific progress, limiting collaboration and resource allocation. Key decisions, often made by Hitler with partial information, further disrupted efficiency. This secrecy severely slowed wartime production, resulting in only 1,300 Me-262s produced, with 300 seeing combat, while the Allies deployed thousands of bombers and fighters daily. The Nazis' inability to mass-produce their advanced inventions sealed their fate. Prioritizing a select few weapons and focusing on defense might have drastically altered the war's outcome. It could have delayed the 1944 invasion, pushed it to 1945, and possibly shifted the war's conclusion to see the first atomic bomb dropped on Germany rather than Japan. But history took a different path.
Truman announced the official surrender.
This is a solemn but glorious hour. I wish that Franklin D. Roosevelt had lived to see this day. General Eisenhower informs me that the forces of Germany have surrendered to the United Nations.
In 1945, Allied bombs obliterated the Nazi dream. Hitler and Himmler committed suicide, and the Nuremberg Trials brought Nazi leaders to justice. The world was left to grapple with the horrors of concentration camps and the full extent of Hitler's dark ambitions for domination.